Hi, everybody. Welcome along to episode 78 of Percussion Discussion. As usual, please check out our social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, our world famous YouTube channel where you can find all of the previous interviews. And of course, we've got some great ones coming up. We wouldn't want you to miss those. So please subscribe if you can. It only takes a minute. If you prefer to listen on the go, you can find all of our conversations in podcast form. You can find these to download or to stream on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if that's your thing, you know what to do. And if you can leave us a review, it only needs to be just one line. Amazing, brilliant, terrible, whatever it is, we'll take it. That would be great too. On to today's guest, a gentleman who is currently touring around the UK with the fabulous Simply Red. An amazing Swiss drummer, beautiful feel, great drum sounds, and a really, really nice guy too. It gives me great pleasure to welcome the fabulous Mr. Roman Roth.
My pleasure.
It's good to talk to you. And so you're currently sort of flitting around the UK with Simply Red.
We are, yes. It's been an amazing journey now, back in the saddle, and everyone's having it, and so are we. So yeah, it's been amazing.
Fantastic. So I know there was you've had a little brief, unexpected break due to this lovely pandemic, which we're all going through at the moment.
Well, I wouldn't say unexpected. I mean, it's it's been quite a ride. We bubbled up crazy. I used to sanitize the cutlery in room service and just trying everything we could, but at the end, well, not quite at the end, in the middle of it, it got us. And it got all of us, but our bass player, Steve Lewinson, he didn't get it.
Really? So the whole band's had it pretty much?
Yeah, everyone.
Wow.
Yeah.
So but you've done incredible. Or I said management and promoters have done incredibly well to reschedule the gigs so quickly.
I have no idea how they did that, but yes, amazing.
Because normally you're looking a few months down the line, aren't you? And amazing.
Yeah, the O2 being free for just a week after is unheard of. So,
well,
yeah, well done.
Great. It's fantastic.
Kilimanjaro and our management, they don't know how they did it, but they did it.
Great work. And of course, I'm coming to see you next Wednesday, I think, in Nottingham. So I'm really looking forward to that. So it'll be fabulous. So have you noticed then touring, I'm guessing, in this I don't want to say post-COVID, because it's still very much around, as you all know. Is it incredibly different to how it was pre-COVID?
No. I mean, the only difference we feel is that we can't really mix with the crew, and usually we have dinner together. Everyone is like one big family, Simply Red. And this time, of course, we had to be very careful not to like build little bubbles that shouldn't mix, and we tried to do that. So I'm hoping that by summer we can all have drinks and food together again. That would be great. So, and of course, we couldn't get the guests backstage.
Yeah,
naturally. So it's all a bit, I mean, good for us. We all get along really well and we like each other's company. So that wasn't too hard for us. But I imagine there are bands that go crazy and they have to just be together all the time.
It must be quite hard if you come off stage after a really, really good show that, you know, you've taken the roof off. And it must be quite nice to go back to when there's guests there and shaking your hand saying, "Oh, amazing, great." It must be pretty quiet coming off when there's just the band, you know, and a few crew members, I guess.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, we go straight to the bus anyway. We do that after, even if we have guests, we have a few drinks and then we F off.
Yeah.
And on the bus is our party, and it's always good. It's a few hours of very loud music, a few drinks. So I mean, it is what it is. So it's fine. We're having a good time, and we're glad we're out again.
And you know what? Yeah, it's 1,000,000% better than being stuck at home with no music going on, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's good to see it. It's good to see it happening. And so let's go back, if you don't mind, Roman, to your native Switzerland as a youngster. Where did music kind of catch fire for you? Never mind drums. What's your first memories of music?
My dad used to play cello. He wasn't a professional. He wanted to be a professional, but he wasn't allowed from his parents.
Okay.
So he was a teacher with a very big passion for music. And my early memories are like he was the opposite of a music snob. He was listening to whatever came across, and he had a great collection of stuff. And he was, one day it was Thelonious Monk, the next day it was Michael Jackson, and the day after it was some opera that he was playing at. And so I grew up with a very vast, broad music content, and I started playing the violin when I was 5, and I'm pretty sure that's, my father didn't make me play the violin at 5, but I mean, there was his quartets were rehearsing at our place when I was little, so I saw lots of violins and violas and cellos, and so I started playing violin. And age 9, I wanted to play drums. I can't remember what exactly it was, but it must have been like early memories of Dad playing Art Blakey to me and stuff, and that probably got me into that. So I started alongside with violin. I started playing drums, but the drum teacher wasn't really a drummer. He was like classically trained. Well, he was a drummer, but not in a pop rock setting. So it was a practice pad for 3 years straight until I was it was a long time, but somehow he made it really fun. So I had the basics when I sat down on a kick, age 12, and I immediately stopped playing violin and focused on the drums.
So,
and here I am.
During that time with the practice pad, you didn't go near a drum kit. That was
he had a drum kit in his room, and I sometimes, like once in the blue moon, he showed me like a Roomba or some, not really what I really wanted to play, let's put it that way. So the practice pad was actually more exciting than the kit at that moment. We played lots of marches and like really cool stuff, actually. So yeah,
because it's quite rare to hear some. I mean, I guess we're talking sort of. Are we talking early 80s? I mean, I'm not sure how old you are.
That was early 80s. Yeah, I was born 75, so
right,
I'm 46 now.
Yeah, so
yeah, early 80s.
Because you normally hear this practice pad thing from like somebody who's learned from Joe Morello or something, back in the 60s. It seems quite an old-fashioned thing to do, doesn't it? In the 80s with so much music going on and rock stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, it was a drum kit was expensive,
of course,
and so the practice pad wasn't, so that made sense.
Yeah,
and I think we had a bit more patience around. You kind of didn't expect to immediately do whatever you want to do. You understood that you have to do a few steps and prove yourself to get to where you want to be. So I think that's part of it. And everyone else was the same. It wasn't like all my friends were able to get an electric guitar and I was the one who had to play in the practice pad. Everyone was starting out with something that now is considered like super boring, but probably quite important.
Definitely. It's fascinating that, because as I say, it's normally associated with a time gone by when you would just stick to a pad, and I guess there was less fighting for your attention in those days. There was no internet, no YouTube.
Exactly.
MTV was kind of started to happen, but
remember those days?
Yeah, good days.
They were good days. I mean,
so.
I'm not wishing the internet away, but sometimes I do look back and think, wow, that was amazingly quiet.
Definitely. When I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but my iPhone tells me how long I've had online sometimes, and and I think I could have practiced for those 4 hours, or and it. Oh, so I wish I'd rather not know sometimes, but it was
turn it off.
Yeah. So you're on your pad. I guess you're learning rudiments, reading, etc., and whatever else.
Absolutely. I mean, single stroke rolls, double strokes, paradiddles, you know them.
Yeah,
I practiced them. And there's like these Swiss army marches that are quite, all that army drumming actually originates in Switzerland in 1600, whatever. So they're like, and there's 12 Swiss army marches that I was studying. And they're really fun to play. So anyone who is listening to this, look them up.
So would this be related to Basel
Yeah, Basel is the originating point of all this drumming, and they have amazing drum corps there, and
yeah.
So it's I mean, I'm not a huge fan of all that actually, but playing them is a different thing than listening to them.
Yeah,
they're amazing to play. Feel really good.
And I'm guessing the rudiments are the same rudiments that are used. I'm assuming, are they in something like that?
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah,
same thing.
No, it's
There's a few extras, the Swiss ones. Well, actually, I mean, you must know the Swiss triplets and
yes,
and all that stuff, and
yeah.
the 5-stroke roll starting with a flam. That's a typical Swiss rudiment.
Is it really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's all over these marches. Yeah, look, I'll send them to you.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I got a copy on my laptop. So
always looking for new and interesting stuff to teach your play, you know. So that's really cool.
Yeah, so stuff.
So once you got away from the pad, and I'm guessing you'd begged, borrowed, stole some drums, or stole some drums, I should say.
Yes, I think my first kit was it was called PX 1500. It was probably some China made.
Sounds like a motorbike.
Yeah, exactly. But of course it was like beautiful red finish, and I loved it dearly. So I practiced and practiced and practiced, and I was fortunate enough to grow up in a house with in Switzerland, the houses you build, they have to have like a bunker thing that comes from the Cold War. Right. So each house has its own bunker.
Perfect.
And it's perfect to play drums.
Yeah.
Because it's really well isolated.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So
yeah.
And I guess at this point, then, were you steering away from maybe the march and classical stuff and what have you, and heading towards the pop rock?
Yes, age 13, I started to study in Basel with Markus Fürst. His name is, great drummer, and he was like the coolest guy. And when you're 13, he was my hero. So I really wanted to want him to like me.
Yeah,
I just found out I'm in contact with him. He's a good friend now, and so I just recently found out I was actually his first student.
Oh wow!
When he started out, he never told me that until recently. I was his very first student, and he was my first proper drum teacher.
Wow!
And it was great. I spent I think 3 or 4 years with him, and I've learned pretty much everything I do now from him.
He must be so proud knowing what you've achieved, since those days.
I hope he is.
What a great first student to have, to say, look, this is what I can offer you. Look what he's done.
He's had a few good. I mean, he is a great teacher. So pretty much everyone I know who went to his lessons, to have lessons with him, turned out really good.
Yeah,
so he's one of those teachers who just kind of know where you are and interest you in whatever you are interested in or should be interested in. And he was very vibey at the same time.
Yeah, that's a gift.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
I always tried to be that teacher, but I don't think I have the same that magic he had.
Do you teach a lot?
I used to teach a lot, not now. It's not easy with the touring. And during the pandemic, I did a few online lessons, but I have to say I'm not a fan of it. It's just kind of there's an element missing that I think is very important in teaching.
Yeah, sure.
So I wasn't too interested in doing it. And I have a handful of students who are very good drummers, so they come whenever they think they need a quick kick in the butt.
Yeah, quick fix.
And then they come for 1-2 lessons, and then they bugger off again for a few months, which is nice.
So how long before you found yourself playing in a band and doing what you do?
Pretty much age 14. So a year after I started studying with Marcus, I got a few friends together for my very first band, Right Back, and we played old 70 rock covers, lots of Zeppelin, a few AC/DC, Deep Purple,
all the standards.
Yes, and yeah, we loved it. We practiced like crazy, and it was good.
Yeah.
And we played gigs, little local. It's good fun. Good fun.
It's good grounding. That's the way it should
I
be.
love looking back to those days. It was very exciting.
Absolutely. So did you continue kind of your musical education, your formal education anywhere, or did you get out and do it, or how did it work?
I did. Well, I was my path was becoming or studying math and physics. That was my true love. Still is, actually. I love math, some weird reason. And then I went on a student exchange program thingy, and I went to Marana, Arizona, which is outside Tucson, so in the middle of the desert. And I had a lot of time there, and I bought a nice Pearl drum kit there in the local drum shop, Rainbow Guitars in Tucson. I think they're still around.
Cool.
And so I was still able to practice in America in that year, and had lots of time to reflect about what I really want to do and where do I want to be in 10 years time, kind of thing. And then music always came up with that, but I always thought, well, that's not really a job, is it? And then funny enough, my dad sent me, that was pre-internet as well, so he sent me a letter with a thing attached from a new music school in Zurich called the Academy of Contemporary Music. Billy Cobham was involved in that. He lives in Zurich.
Okay.
Somehow he was involved. I never really actually saw him at the school, but somehow he was involved in the making of the program or something. And my dad, not being able to be a professional musician, he really much liked the idea of me going that path if I wanted to.
Yeah.
So he sent me that, and it was like one of those, it was the first music school, professional music school with diploma and everything in Switzerland that wasn't just jazz. So you could study pop, rock, funk, whatever your desire was. Great drum teachers there. So I studied music for 5 years. I think when I started 17, so I graduated 22.
Yeah.
Age 22, and started playing bands and started teaching lots.
Yeah.
The usual.
Of course, of course. I mean, you've mentioned some styles there, and I think the fact that you've studied such a broad range of music shows in the recordings that you've done. I mean, there's the Big Love album. There's a track, Daydreaming. If I don't know if anybody's heard it, then that's such a funky tune. I mean, I hear
nice, yeah.
I hear sort of elements of J.R. Robinson in that, and it's just that it just ticks along nicely, and it's got the whole album's got a great feel. But
I really like the album. It really grew on me. It's a different kind of, not what you expect, I'd say.
No,
picking up a Simply Red album.
Yeah,
but I really love it. It's got quite some amazing tunes on it.
Absolutely. But you're all about the feel and the groove, aren't you? That is obvious. And the sounds. Well,
I'm trying to. I mean, I keep learning. And funny enough, Mick, our singer, he's an amazing musician. So he keeps telling me what he would like me to change a bit feel wise, and takes me into pockets where I didn't even occur to me in this tune to try it more like a laid back thing or more of a. So I keep learning to decide what feel is the right for what, and everyone's a bit different. So
yeah, sure.
Very grateful for him to actually keep telling me all the little where he feels the pocket should be. And
so you're happy to take that on board. You'd rather be told to say, look, you know,
absolutely. I want to know what's what, and I mean, he's my boss.
Yeah,
I want him to be happy with whatever I do. So that's my job. So yes, I want him to give me feedback. And it's not like major things. It's just tiny little. There would be nice to hold back a little bit until we go into and that kind of sort of thing, or maybe a bit more of a build up in that section.
Yeah.
Try starting a bit maybe with cross stick and then go into. So yeah, it's really nice.
And I'm sure some of these things, when he said them, you'd probably think, oh yeah, it makes sense. Why didn't I he's doing the first, but you know.
Well, I tried on the next show, and then it totally makes sense. And I tried, and he looks at me and smiles, you know, tiny little milliseconds difference, but he feels it instantly, and I feel it as well. The whole band seems to kind of relax a bit more when I do that, and it's really amazing how much just that tiny split second of a snare hit makes. It's interesting.
It's funny, isn't it? How, you know, and I think a real credit to Mick that he's got that musical ear that he can suggest.
Absolutely.
You know,
yeah, I'm very grateful for that.
Really,
I learn a lot every day from him.
Yeah. I mean,
that's...
is there click involved in the show, or is it a click?
Absolutely.
There
is. It's pretty much all on click track, which makes sense for the video guys, because they cue all their little things. And it's actually nice for me, because some nights you're a bit more nervous than another, and sometimes I start the click and think that's much too slow, and then, but it is where it should be. But I would have counted it in much faster if it wasn't for the click. So it takes another thing away to stress about. I know the tempo is here, I play along to that tempo, everything is fine.
The click doesn't lie, as they say.
It really doesn't. But it is amazing. Some nights you feel like everything is much too slow, and some nights you feel, wow, you have to speed up a bit to keep with the click. It's quite amazing.
I have heard this from so many incredible drummers that I have spoken to, and they all say the same thing. So you're not on your own, Roman. It is
good to hear.
It's a common thing.
So yeah, good. That's nice to hear.
I mean, and again, variety in styles. The Symphonica in Rosso album, where you open up with All or Nothing at All. I mean, that's a total
what a thrill.
Oh, you're a born big band drummer. That's amazing playing.
Oh, thank you very much.
Beautiful playing. It really is.
That was a bit. I was a bit nervous for that kind of, because that's not my usual thing.
Didn't come
but
across
it was
nervous.
Fun. Oh, thank you very much.
Sounded great.
So I did study the big band stuff before that.
Did you enjoy doing that?
Absolutely. Oh, it was amazing. I mean, must have been 50-piece orchestra, that one. Humongous. And being sitting in the middle of it, you feel, I had the cello right next to me, and you feel the frequencies more than you hear them. That was a thrill. That was amazing.
I can imagine. It's just, and as orchestras go, it was an incredible one as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're all.
I mean, it sounded to me like an actual orchestra that's worked together a lot. I don't know if it was, or whether we're all just hired session players, but it gelled beautifully. The whole album is just.
I think they do this once a year with different acts.
Yeah.
I think they've done a few of those, and they all seem to know each other very well. So I guess they all work together quite often.
Yeah, because sometimes you can tell if a bunch of high-end musicians thrown together, it doesn't. Although it's really good, it doesn't have that feel that album does. And
no, that was. I mean, we only got to rehearse with the orchestra. I think, was it 1 or 2 days?
Yeah.
Prior to the show, so we rehearsed for us, and we were in contact with the orchestra, and we sent stuff over to them, and they sent stuff back to us, and we practiced to that, and then we had to change it again. I think Kevin Robinson, our trumpet player, was the MD for the whole thing for this one, and so he was in constant writing, rearranging mode, sent it over to Amsterdam. They recorded it, sent it back to us. It was amazing. I mean, it was really amazing.
Incredible to be part of it, and it's, you know, and it comes across really well on CD, on audio as well. You know, you can just hear the life in it, and it's superb. Really, really good.
Well, you know, that variety of styles, I think I learned most of that. I learned I played lots of function stuff, weddings and birthdays and whatnot, and I mean, you usually open with a few bossa nova and a few jazz tunes, and then you go into a bit more pop rock, and at the end you really beating the hell out of everything, and that kind of, you have to be good at pretty much all the styles. You have to be able to play that rumba that I had to learn when I was 8 or 9, and that really got me into studying more than my natural, where I was comfortable. So I started to do that John Riley book with the play alongs, and I tried to get the brushes on the control, and that really made me do that, as it was my job, and it was where the money came in, so I had to be good at it.
The John Riley book is my nemesis. I'm working my way through it slowly.
Oh man, I still do it, and I still love it. And the play-alongs are just beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, really well done.
I'm always disappointed though after doing the play-alongs, going to an actual band, and it never sounds quite as good. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. But
yeah, I used to record myself playing along and listening back to it. And I think, no, that doesn't sound like when he does it. Let's do it again. And I never got to actually sound like him. No. I mean, he's a fantastic drummer, but I got close enough for me to be happy with.
Sure.
Or starting to think, actually, maybe I can do that.
Well, I have to say that the styles that you play that I've heard, obviously on various recordings and YouTube clips and what have you, they're all done convincingly, which is a credit
nice to hear.
Well, it is, it's there for everyone to hear. I'm not saying it just because you sat in front of me. It's
well, thank you very much.
No, it's fine. So tell me, how did the Simply Red gig come about? I know you've done some stuff with Mick in a solo capacity previous.
Yes. Well, the whole thing, fun enough, started on a gig in Switzerland that I didn't want to do. But it was one of those, like, a monthly thing, and it was in a bar, and they wanted to get more people in on a Tuesday night, which never really worked. So we always played like for 7 people.
Sure.
And they then probably left, and it was just us for the last set kind of thing. So it wasn't an exciting show to do. But then a bass player I haven't seen for a long time came along, and I talked to him, and he told me about this gig he's doing, Kirsty Bertarelli. And I said, like as a joke, don't you need a drummer for that? And he said, oh, actually, funny enough, we're gonna have an audition in a few weeks' time. I'll put you on the list. So I auditioned for that gig, and that was the guy who auditioned was Andy Wright, the Simply Red's producer.
Yes, yeah.
And he produced Kirsty as well. So I got to know him. I got the gig, so we became friends. And then I asked him, so what would happen if I've moved to London? Because all my life, my dream was to get out of Switzerland, go places, be it LA or London or New York or wherever. But I was old enough to understand that I shouldn't just move there and starve and go back again. I need to have a contact in a city like London. It's hard to survive without someone looking after you. So Andy said, well, I have a few things, not an amazing amount of it, but come over and we can work a bit. And so I think 2 weeks later, I had my flat. Well, it wasn't a flat, it was a room in a flat share.
Yeah, sure.
So I started working with Andy Wright, doing little bits and bobs in the studio. And like half a year later, I got a call from him. And he said, would you like to do a corporate with Simply Red? And I'm like, would I? Of course. I mean, scary moment.
Of course.
I knew that I've supported them a few times over the years, and I had huge respect for those musicians and Mick. So yeah, scary, but of course I said yes, would love to do it. So we did that corporate, and we got along really well. So Mick called me a bit later, asked me, so he's doing a solo album, The American Soul. Would I be interested in being part of that? And I was very interested being part of that. So we recorded that. That was end 11, early 2012. And then we toured that in 13.
Yeah.
And then we recorded the Big Love album 14. And then I got the call that Mick wants to take me on tour with him for Simply Red. And that was an instant knighthood for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, he can pretty much hire any drummer he wants to. So yeah, that was a total thrill.
An amazing gig, and it's just great music to play. There's no bad songs. There's no.
I am so blessed.
It's the ultimate gig for me, from my style. You know,
I think so. Yeah.
I just it's such great. I mean, he's a great songwriter. Great in the voice. Well, yeah,
better than ever. I mean, you'll hear it next week. It
yeah.
is unbelievable. He is unbelievable.
And you know, what a back catalogue of songs to play as well.
And that's the other thing. I mean, we can open with a big hit because there's so many of them.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really, and the song pool we take on tour is huge.
Yeah. Do you vary the sets night to night, or is it has a kind of form and you'll change bits?
We do change. I mean, we started different than we are now. So there are some songs fall out, others come in, we try a thing, we rearrange them. It's usually not a set list like the one last night.
Yeah, sure.
Some changes will be in there, but mostly not radical. Just one song maybe replaces another one. But there might be surprises coming in, and you don't really get the set list before like 7 p.m. or so.
So if there is anything different in there that you haven't done for a while, you don't get time to run it.
No, you have to just maybe quickly listen to it. Yeah. But we've played them so many times. But it keeps the gig interesting as well.
Keeps it fresh.
Yeah, and I think he does it mostly for that. So everyone's a bit on their toes and a bit of adrenaline going.
I'm assuming there's no reading going on in the gig at all.
No. We got enough rehearsal time to make sure we nail it.
Yeah. Do you start off with any notation at all, or do you always go in fully learned?
I have everything like not written out, but I've got all the tunes as in 8 bars of chorus into 8 bars of exactly.
Yeah, sure.
But I try not ever taking them out anymore.
Yeah.
But sometimes we do a song we haven't done for like 5 years, then I quickly take it out in rehearsals.
Yeah.
And then put it away instantly. I don't want to be glued to the screen. And you know how it is. When you have them next to you, you will look at it.
It's the safety blanket. Yes.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it keeps you away from the music in a way. I'm not a great reader anyway, but if I'm not looking at my bandmates and at the people, it kind of takes me away from where I should be. Absolutely. I feel a bit disconnected.
Totally. And do you have, I mean, I have a favorite Simply Red song, and I used to play it in a function band. Do you have a favorite one that you play?
No, I love the challenge of Enough.
Mm-hmm. Great song.
And we play that pretty much every night. So that is like the first adrenaline moment in the set. It's like song number 5 or 6 or so.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's like when you know it's kind of the show starts now.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, I love Your Mirror. That is one I've always loved playing.
Yeah, that's pretty much right after Enough.
Yeah.
And then we're off.
Such a cool song.
Yeah. But I mean, there's so many. Come to My Aid is a great song to play.
Yeah.
It's but they're all really good songs. So I enjoy playing them all.
Yeah.
And I love ballads. I mean, Mick kills the ballads as well. So you play like Brand New and all those. It's beautiful to play.
Yeah. I don't think people sometimes are quite aware of how big Simply Red are, you know, across the world. They're huge, aren't they? They really
I think
are.
it's the typical where you're from, people kind of downplay you a bit.
Yeah.
And I mean, we hit mainland Europe and it seems to be much well, no, I wouldn't say bigger or any more exciting or anything. It just seems to, I think the Brits don't know how good he really is. Or, I mean, he is probably the best singer one of the top singers in the world right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree.
I mean, Quincy Jones loves to work with him. It's like everyone knows how amazing he is in the music industry, of course.
Just incredible. I mean, and let's before we disappear, I have to talk about your lovely organic drum sounds that you get, where, you know, whether it's live, recorded, they sound great. And obviously, being a Swiss gentleman, I guess you had to use Paiste. Is that part of the rules? If you're Swiss, you use Paiste.
Yes, I use Paiste, but not for long, actually. Only since 2018.
Okay.
Because I was with another company before for a long time, and that was mainly because they had a Swiss import company. And I played Pearl at that time, and the same company had another cymbal company. And that's how I got into them. And then years and years of playing them. But I wasn't too happy at the end, kind of with not with the cymbals, they were amazing, but when we do like touring and you need another cymbal somewhere, or it wasn't easy to get a good replacement or an actual set for a flying gig, or and I mean, Paiste is just unbelievable. I mean, I'm so much more relaxed now ever since I'm with Paiste, because I know when I order a 22602 Modern Essential ride anywhere in the world, it will sound the same as my copy that I have in my studio. So I don't have to worry about the quality of cymbals that will arrive anywhere in the world, which is great.
That particular range is absolutely stunning. I believe I think I heard, does Vinnie Collins use those?
Yeah, I think he was part of the development of the 602 Modern Essentials. So he was the main guy who shaped them into a bit more of a modern sound with the essence of the old 602s.
That warmth,
yeah, exactly. Beautiful. They are great to play. I love them in the studio and live. But in addition to them, I got a 24 Masters ride. The John Robinson verse is fantastic to play.
Is that the one with the fill, the little fill to rock with you written?
Yeah,
notated. Yeah, that's a cool little thing, isn't it?
And you know, for live in big stadiums, it really, you can really hear it nice and clear. It's not a wash of some. It's there, but it's not pingy in a way. It's really nice sound. It's a very warm sound somehow, but it really cuts through everything.
I shall look forward to hearing it on Wednesday.
Yeah, it is I'm so happy I took that on tour with me, because first I wasn't going to use it, and then I put it on for a night, and it's like, all right, that's that then for the rest of the tour.
Superb. And drum wise, you're Gretsch, I believe.
I'm Gretsch. I got a USA Custom on tour with me right now.
Yep.
And I've got a broadcaster in my studio.
Beautiful.
They record ridiculous. You
Yeah.
don't really have to do anything to them. You just hit them, and it's fantastic. I used to take them on tour with me, but I think due to the thin shells, they don't give back as much on a big stage as like a USA Custom or a Brooklyn.
Sure.
So yeah, on the Rosso thing, the Orchestral thing, that was a Brooklyn.
Okay, right.
Which I really like as well. 22 kick. But then I thought, you know what? I love 24 kicks, so I got a new one in, and that's now the USA Custom with a 24 kick.
Wow,
love it.
You don't generally associate a drum of that size with this style of music, do you? You generally think John Bonham and you know,
well,
whatever
it's all in the tuning and the muffling and taking. But it's great to play, and it gives something back. It's like that. I mean, of course, I got my Porter and Davies tactile monitor seat.
Yeah.
That is every once in a while in sound check I turn it off, because I think like I can't really.
Is it doing anything?
Yeah, and then you turn it off and everything is just disappears. There's no lower, and then you're on those big stages in those stadiums, there's like no bass at all. It's like, oh God, it could be impossible to play a show like that. Turn it on again. It's like, oh yes, thank you so much.
It's amazing to see how clean the stages are these days. You know, no wedges, no side fills, no drum fills. I remember the first time I saw that kind of monitoring was Gavin Harrison, drum clinic, and
he's a monster.
He was on ears with the Porter and Davis. I think it was called the Bum Chum at the time. So, and I think they changed it to whatever it is. And then, but I remember asking him about it, and he said, "This is the way things are going to go." And I
know it's called the BC, and now I know where that comes from.
The Bum Chum. There you go. And I'm sure you can ask whoever. I forgot what's the guy's name from Porter and Davis. Can't remember his name.
Dill.
Yeah. I'm sure he'll. I'm sure he'll set you right.
That's funny you say that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, that's what Gavin Harrison told me anyway, so I'll take it. Look, Roman, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. It really has.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks for giving up your day off to, you know, to chat. It's been very kind of you.
It's back to bed for me now. For
excellent.
Half hour or so.
Well, enjoy.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you in Nottingham.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to that, and I appreciate the offer. It's very kind of you.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Thanks, Roman. Right. Enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of the tour. See you soon.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.